April 4th, in history. In 1081, the Byzantine Empire stood on the brink of collapse. Seljuk Turks pressed from the east as rival generals fought for the throne in Constantinople. On April 4th, Alexios I Komnenos was crowned emperor in the Great Cathedral. A military general turned ruler, he seized power and vowed to restore Byzantine glory. Alexios's plea to Pope Urban II for aid against the Turks ignited the First Crusade, reshaping Christendom and the medieval world for centuries to come. In 1581, England stood boldly against Spain's dominance. The port of Deptford buzzed with tension as a legendary ship, the Golden Hind, rested in harbor after circling the entire globe. Queen Elizabeth I stepped aboard and touched her sword to Francis Drake's shoulder, declaring him a knight. The ceremony crowned his daring voyage and his raids on Spanish treasure fleets. Spain's King Philip II was furious, calling Drake a pirate. The knighting deepened Anglo-Spanish rivalry, helping ignite the conflict that would send the Great Armada against England 7 years later. In 1721, Britain's Parliament was the true seat of power. After a financial crisis rocked the nation, King George I needed a steady hand to govern. On April 4th, Robert Walpole was appointed First Lord of the Treasury and Chancellor of the Exchequer, consolidating executive power unlike any minister before him. Walpole's 21-year tenure created the modern role of Prime Minister and Cabinet government, a blueprint still used across democracies worldwide today. In 1841, Washington, D.C. braced for a new era. William Henry Harrison, the oldest president elected, delivered a 2-hour inauguration speech in bitter cold. Just 31 days into his term, Harrison died of pneumonia, the shortest presidency in American history. Vice President John Tyler was abruptly summoned to power. Tyler's succession sparked fierce debate about presidential power. The constitutional crisis it revealed wasn't formally resolved until the 25th Amendment passed in 1967. In 1865, the American Civil War neared its end. Union forces had just captured Richmond, Virginia, the heart of the Confederacy, after 4 years of brutal conflict. President Lincoln walked Richmond's streets on April 4th. Freed enslaved people surrounded him in joyous, overwhelming celebration, a moment of extraordinary emotional power. 10 days later, Lincoln was assassinated. His Richmond Walk remains one of history's most powerful images of liberation, a nation glimpsing the promise of reunion and freedom. In 1928, a girl named Marguerite Annie Johnson was born in St. Louis, Missouri, a city alive with jazz, struggle, and the American South's long shadow. She grew up facing poverty, trauma, and racism, yet she transformed her pain into words. Her 1969 memoir, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, broke barriers across America. Angelou became a voice of defiance and grace. Her poem Still I Rise endures as a global anthem of resilience, read by millions who find strength in her words. In 1949, the world was fractured. Soviet power loomed over Eastern Europe, and Western nations scrambled to forge a united front. On April 4th, 12 nations signed the North Atlantic Treaty in Washington, pledging collective defense. An attack on one would be an attack on all. NATO endured for decades, expanding to 32 nations. It remains the most powerful military alliance in history, shaping global security to this day. In 1964, America was in the grip of Beatlemania. 4 young men from Liverpool had crossed the Atlantic and taken the country by storm. On April 4th, the Beatles achieved the impossible, occupying all 5 top spots on the Billboard Hot 100 simultaneously, a feat no artist has ever repeated. That singular chart dominance cemented the Beatles as the most influential band in history, reshaping popular music and culture for generations to come. In 1968, Memphis, Tennessee simmered with tension. Sanitation workers had been on strike for weeks, demanding dignity and fair wages, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had come to stand with them. On April 4th, a single shot rang out at the Lorraine Motel. King fell on the second-floor balcony. He was pronounced dead at St. Joseph's Hospital at 7:05 that evening. Riots erupted in over 100 American cities. King's dream endured, shaping the Civil Rights Act, inspiring generations, and making his voice the conscience of a nation still striving toward justice. In 1969, Houston's St. Luke's Episcopal Hospital became the center of medical history. Surgeon Denton Cooley faced a dying patient with no donor heart available. Dr. Cooley implanted a pneumatic artificial heart into Haskell Karp, a mechanical device that kept him alive for 64 hours until a donor heart arrived. That 64-hour miracle launched the modern era of mechanical cardiac support, paving the way for ventricular assist devices and total artificial hearts that save thousands today. In 1975, two young programmers in Albuquerque, New Mexico saw the future arriving on the cover of a magazine and decided to meet it. On April 4th, Bill Gates and Paul Allen officially incorporated Microsoft, writing basic interpreters for the tiny Altair 8800 betting software would define the computing age. From that Albuquerque office, Microsoft grew into the force behind Windows, Office, and the personal computer in every home, reshaping how the world works.